Well, John, my background was in typical, traditional, if you will, American sports, and I grew up from a small boy, you know, watching old film on our performances, and then by the time that film actually got to the team, it was in a team meeting setting, and those old films had been spliced to be appropriate for whatever group of the team, or you know, whatever members of the team were appropriate to those positions, and they'd all been kind of boxcarred together so we could watch our performance and not have to watch the performances necessarily that weren't as appropriate to us. Geez, I can remember there being, you know, in the 70s, I can remember, you know, coaches filming practices, not just competitions, and then of course having, you know, multiple cameras on the field, you know, a side view and a in-goal view, and this is in almost all of our sports. And then as I began to play rugby in the 70s, still playing our other traditional sports, I noticed that there was just less. There was less capture of those performances. There was less sorting what was important to the team or to certain members of the team. And you know, if you saw a film in the early days playing rugby, it was pretty unique. And then of course the formats changed. There's more video, and then of course there's video editing for our traditional American sports. But that wasn't, I didn't see any of those systems in rugby as a player or as a coach in the early part of my coaching career. It really wasn't until I became the head coach in the national team in the early 90s that I understood we had a real need for, you know, finding a system that could facilitate what we were trying to do as coaches with our players. You know, America's a big country. You know, there's 3,000 or so miles in between coasts, and it's really a, you know, it's a continent. and our players were spread all over the continent, and when we assembled, we just didn't have a lot of time together, and it was very important that you know, we could give them performance product, you know, videotapes that were spliced together so that they could see what parts of their performance around emphasis that we wanted them to see. And this was tape to tape stuff. It was get a videotape of the game and then, you know, find the parts that you wanted to show them, whether it was a series of lineouts or a series of scrums from the left side or the right side or the center, and, you know, secondary phases of defense, whatever the component is you want to show them. It was all tape to tape. And you know, it became real clear that we needed to find a system, and I dispatched an assistant coach to Australia, where there was a trade conference taking place, and you know, one of the significant aspects of this particular conference was a technology section, and we found a product that had been originated at the Australian Institute of Sport that had a really strong rugby application, and we purchased the product. I think we were one of the first users of the product, and it served us really well. Serves us really well today. And of course, now you see these type of digitized, you know, systems throughout the world in the sport of rugby. But at the time, you know, we were kind of pioneers of trying to bring what I saw as American coaching best practice to the sport of rugby. Well, it's interesting that you ask. It might just be that America had professional coaches before a lot of countries did, and if I'm just thinking about the early days of being a professional coach in a traditional American sport. You know, I assume that you know training or practice is a couple hours a day, and there's 10 or 12 hours in every coach's day, and so what do you do with the rest of that time, I guess? And I think that, you know, we started you know, reaching out to all those various applied sciences that are now part of the standard coach's responsibilities. And I think American coaches started reaching out for those, whether it's any aspect of performance analysis, and tracking and capturing all kinds of data from sports psych through nutrition, through video, and really, it's really part of how coaches in America see their responsibilities. So, I mean, what's clear now is we've, at least to my way of thinking, we've moved beyond, is there some software out there? Is there a piece of equipment that can service the team around the capture and the sorting of performances and video images? Now we've reached the point where, teams really need a performance manager. They really need somebody other than the coach, which is directing all of that workflow. It has really changed that the coach is now directing and working in collaboration with a performance manager to create this product that the team then sees. And at some point, maybe there's even a high performance manager as part of this, somebody who is bringing the other aspects of applied science, from motor learning through biomechanics, once again, sports psychology, nutrition, really tying all these things together to best service the team. But I think any team that is on a high performance path that doesn't have a high performance manager is missing something. I think it's critical that the coach knows what they want to see from a high performance manager, but ultimately that there's somebody tasked really 24/7 with capturing and servicing those needs back to the team as a performance manager.